Hello there. It's Syracuse Sports. It's Brent Axe. It's you. What a combination. So great to have you back here, my friends, as we get you ready for Syracuse-UConn, a noon kickoff home opener at the JMA Wireless Dome. And don't you forget that we're going to be doing our Syracuse football postgame show live after the game. So if you subscribe to Syracuse Sports on YouTube, if you subscribe to the pod, if you know our Syracuse football Facebook page, we'll go live on all those pages after the game. But this is the beauty of subscribing to the pod on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your pods. If you can't listen live after the game, you can listen when you want on demand. So we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to two great guests today. One is former Syracuse running back Damien Rhodes. He's been on the pod before. It's been way too long since we had Damien on, and I wanted to get him to give his perspective on game one and just what he thinks about the Syracuse running back room, what he thinks about Syracuse football. He's going to be hanging with John Wildhack on Saturday a little bit. How are those, alumni relations going and getting better with Syracuse football players and Syracuse football? As Damien put it, there was a little scar tissue there that had to be repaired, and we'll see how that's going. And I just love talking ball with Damien. If you don't follow him on social media, you should, because he offers some honest insight. Now, he's a guy who's passionate about his orange, but he will give it to you straight about what he sees on the football field. We're looking forward to chatting with him, and we're going to get another Yukon preview today. I really enjoyed listening to the Locked On Yukon pod this week just to get a sense of what was going on with the Huskies, and Mike Mutnansky has taken over that pod. He's doing a great job. He's a Yukon alum, and I think gave us some great perspective on this Huskies team, what Syracuse has to be concerned with, and certainly flipping the script and what Yukon is going to be concerned with in this game with Syracuse. I've come to call this, I think it's going to be a saucy game on Saturday between the Orange and the Huskies. So we're going to hear from those two gentlemen coming up here. Looking forward to that. And just a reminder, friends, we love to feature your original music here on Syracuse Sports. Backed by popular demand, our friends from Silverset. We featured one of their songs prior, and we're going to feature one of their songs once again here today. It's a song called Akame. Now, if I am getting this right, if you go on Silverset's Instagram page, their lead singer was saying, I believe the song is named after her cat, Akame, which that's just fantastic if that's true, right? And it's a great tune. So we're going to play a little bit of it here at the beginning of the pod, and then we'll play the song in its entirety at the end of the podcast, which, by the way, we can do for you. Get in touch, all right? If you want your band, maybe you're a solo artist, you've got some great original music, you know of some great original music. Maybe your friend's in a band, but they're a little too shy to promote themselves. Let me know. We got to restock some of this original music. Man, you guys are bringing it with some amazing stuff, but we got to restock the roster, okay? So please send us your original music to play here on Syracuse Sports. All the info is in the show notes on how you can get in touch, and our Syracuse Sports Insiders know they can get in touch anytime with direct text message access to me. News, highlights, opinions, analysis, the commentary flying back and forth during Syracuse football games, and you guys can shoot the breeze and talk SU sports anytime. It's just $3.99 a month to be a Syracuse Sports Insider. You can try it free for 2 weeks, so sign up today. Join subtext.com/Syracuse Sports, and all the info on that, of course, is in the show notes as well. So how about a little bit of Akame, and then two great guests to talk Syracuse-UConn football coming up.
Yeah, was waiting there because I can, and I came through because I want you. And you were left alone without a home, nowhere to go before I got you. And now you are mine now for all time. You're mine, you are mine all of the time.
My guy, Damien Rhodes, is here. Highly suggest you follow him on the social media. You know, you're one of the good things to follow on the social media these days, Damien. There's a lot of things you shouldn't be following on social media, but if you want great football insight, Damien's Twitter feed is fantastic, and it's great to have you back here on the pod. How you doing, my friend?
I mean, I can't believe it's been almost a year since last football season already.
That's
Can't
on me,
believe
man.
it.
That's on me. I should
mean,
just have you on randomly, just talk about other things. I know you have other thoughts on life, right? But we'll
Yeah,
make
that's
this a
it.
more regular thing.
Awesome.
Just give me your thoughts on game one, what you liked, what you didn't like, and game one's always a unique thing.
Yeah.
What'd you take away from that loss to Tennessee?
It's a lot. One of the things that I think can get really overshadowed is I don't think the score was indicative of the game.
Mm.
Like, yeah, I think it shows like 18 points, but it really wasn't that. Um, I mean, they scored that late touchdown, which really didn't do anything. I think they were trying to protect the number of anything. Um, that first quarter was really what hurt, right? We get that good turnover, and then we turn it right back over for a scoop and score the other way. Now it's 17-0 before you even blink, just like that. We had a chance to control the game. Um, we should have had a first down. I thought that legal motion not being set was a weak call to call something like that early
was
in
a
the
bad
game.
call. Yeah.
That's a weak call. I mean, that keeps the chains moving for us, keeps the defense has a chance to sit down. Um, I think about in the first quarter as well, on that drive, they got the field goal on their first drive. It's 3rd and 10 in the deep. They're going to throw a screen or a draw, and we let up a screen. We don't make a tackle, and they get a first down. Just keeps the drive going. So it's little things like that. Like I thought the tackling first game wasn't great. It was flat out not great. I'm sure Coach Brown would say the same thing. But I'm really proud of the fact that they never quit. Like Syracuse kept coming and coming and coming. They kept trying to get it down to under a 2-possession game, and we just couldn't get a stop on defense when it mattered. You go down and score before the half, get some momentum going for a game that looked like we could have got the doors blown off. All of a sudden, boom, we're down by 1 possession, and then you let them go right back down the field and score because of missed tackles. Bishop breaks off that long run, and all of a sudden they score before the half. We go 3 and out, they get the ball back, go down and score. And so now you're just continually chasing. And with the young team that we have, chasing is not the environment or the game mode that you need to be in. But again, I like that they didn't quit. I saw enough signs of progress that I still feel very good about the season.
That's never a problem, it seems, with a Fran Brown team. I think I know that after 1 year, and the fans have noticed that. And look, honestly, you played the game, so you could speak to this better than I, but you're not supposed to quit anyway. Like, I don't really hand out, Girl Scout cookies for that. Like, you're supposed to play hard, right? That's your job. But that's easier said than done. Like you said, when you're down big and you're missing tackles and life's piling up on you here. But that is a characteristic this team has. Now, that being said, what's interesting about the tackling, Damien, is one thing that Fran referred to in his press conference this week. Because look, all camp, Fran, Robert Wright, every defensive coach we talked to said tackling's a problem on this team. We need to fix it. So you come out in game one, and it's still an issue. So maybe you start doubting yourself, right? But Fran was referring to kind of like, do you want to hit? Do you hit the way I want you to hit, right? So he's almost challenging like the things that go beyond technique, right? He's saying like, do you want to be out there in the thick of it and put your helmet right in somebody's chest and do what you need to do?
Absolutely. I mean, and even on both sides of the ball, like football's a physical, violent game. And you'll find out real quick who wants to be out there and who doesn't. You may want to be out there, and it's I don't want to like jump to this big theory of it's NIL almost making players a little softer because hey, they're getting paid. They don't really care anymore as much because
I think it's worth asking.
They're getting the money. I don't want to make this thesis on something that I don't really have any data on, but it's just at the end of the day, football is really simple. Who's going to be physical the longest and win their one-on-one physical matchups? That's really all football is at its purest and the most simplistic form. And up front and tackling. I mean, can you block and can you tackle? If you can do those two things, you're going to have a chance to win the game. And I didn't think we did both things very well, especially early in the game. We didn't block very well protection-wise for Steve. Didn't do great. We didn't run a block very well until we got near the end zone. And obviously tackling. I mean, tackling was just poor. It is what it was.
Now, on that note, it's interesting to see that Jamie Tremble is being thrown over on the defensive side of the ball. We were all talking about Demetrius Samuel Jr. Well, Tremble beat him to the punch.
Yeah.
On defense, in addition to tight end here. What do you think that says about the defense? Do you go with Fran in the sense of like we're just putting the best athletes where we can in spots? Antoine Delorier. My man looks like, you remember this from old school wrestling, Damien. He looks like the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, that guy.
He does. He's huge.
Big And he won that job. He went out there in
Yep.
camp and won that job. So you got a freshman playing linebacker. You got a freshman starting at cornerback. You got one of the freakish athletes on the team jumping over on the defensive side of the ball now. What do you think about the growing list of players that are going two ways on this squad?
Um, I mean, it's a lot, but I also think that, Coach Brown is doing what he has to do. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can't stop anybody, then it doesn't matter what your offense can do. You have to be able to play defense. And right now, he's putting his best athletes out there on that side of the ball to correct, in fairness, that defense lost a lot of talent from last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we lost a lot of senior leadership, people that have played football, that have hit and been in games. So we lost a lot of that.
And
And
some
so right
guys
now,
that
it's
are in
just
NFL camps right now that
absolutely,
made the cut for the practice
absolutely.
squad,
So
and
that's
Marlowe
a
made the
big deal.
53. Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
a big deal. So I mean, you're losing, when you're losing that kind of talent, it takes a minute to try to fill those gaps. And I think that what he's trying to do is look at his best athletes and the best players that he has and put them on the field to put the team in the best spot to succeed.
In your neck of the woods, what do you think of the running back room? You've got Yassine Willis, who looks bigger, looks the part, was probably the most positive thing you could take away from that Tennessee game, frankly. Will
Yeah.
Nixon back from injury. Malachi James is kind of looming. That's easier said than done. You know this better than anybody, Damien. Like Malachi James, he can break one out. It's like, well, you can't just put him out there for like two
Yeah.
carries and hope
I
one
think
of
he's going to
them's
take one, right?
exactly right. You got to get in a rhythm, but he does have that boomer bust
Yep.
threat out there. I've seen it in practice. I heard good things about him in the scrimmages, like busting out these big runs. He's one of the fastest players, not only on this team, but literally in college football. So you got to
For sure.
try it out here. But what's your assessment of this running room? I like it a lot.
I do too, and it's a shame that you really didn't get to see it on Saturday
Mm.
because we were playing from behind, which kind of negates the running game. Like you can try to throw some runs in there, but it's not the consistent get into a rhythm kind of run game when you're chasing 17-0 after the first quarter. So a lot still to see there. And to your point, yeah, it's always nice to have a big home run threat in Malachi. That kind of speed that's not just like you said, team speed or football speed. I mean, that's like track NCAA compete for a championship speed. Like that's a different kind of speed. Um, but you just don't go out there and just, hey, here's your play, make it work. It doesn't happen that way. Like you still
Right.
need the other 10 guys on the field to do their job and hope the 11 on the other side can't do their job. So there's more to that than that. But I do think that we have a good depth of room between Nixon, James, and obviously Willis. I would be like to see them hopefully get out to a better start this Saturday against Connecticut so that we can get some type of rhythm going. Again, for a running back, when you get kind of taken out of the game like that, yes, he scored touchdowns, but they're all down at the goal line. It's not like they were ripping off runs, running up and down the field. They've got down on the goal line, scored touchdowns. But as a running back, you want to get into a rhythm early. But when you're down 17-0, your rhythm's gone. And so even when you do get a carry, like you're not really in the game flow of running the ball.
You want to get that rhythm going too for a couple reasons these days, Damien. And look, Jeff Nixon's a great coach overall offensively, but he knows the running game. He's the running backs coach.
Mhm.
You've got a new quarterback. You've got 4 new offensive linemen, and Fran even said this week they want to start integrating Big Byron Washington and a couple other guys. Like they've got legit 8, 9, maybe even 10 guys that can get on the field. That's a good problem to have, right? But everybody's new, and you're trying to figure it out. But that's life in college football these days with the transfer portal. So the thing that could seem to stabilize everything is to run the football and control the
Yep.
clock, which, by the way, is something that UConn is going to be looking to do in this game, and they can do. They've got a great room.
They do. I mean, this UConn game is not like oh, we got UConn. Like, no, this is like we have to be ready to play. Otherwise, we can end up being embarrassed at home for the opener. Which I do feel really good about this game. I think, you know, I'm not into the whole, look, we can take this from a loss kind of thing. Like at the end of the day, you play to win the game. Um, but there's still a lot that I saw last weekend that gives me hope that, I mean, they may not see a better roster than they just played against. Tennessee's a good team. Flat out, they're a good team, very well coached. They have players everywhere. Um, but I do like things we have. Like, yes, we didn't have a chance to run block. When you can start run blocking, it helps your pass protection. Like, you can't just go, once you become one dimensional, it makes it really easy as a defense to just start sending players, doing different things. And it's really hard on the offensive line up front to pass pro every single snap. Like, that's a very difficult job. And they got put in that position by getting itself in the hole. Um, but our offensive line, the depth, I mean, I don't know the last time we had a depth of an offensive line that is this big, too. I mean, I haven't seen guys this big at Syracuse offensive line maybe ever. I mean, this might be the biggest average offensive line they've ever had. And, you're talking about integrating new players. I mean, look at North Carolina on Monday night,
Yeah.
70 new players on the
Huh.
roster. Like it takes time to be able to put all that together. It's not something you just do, and especially in this new era of transfer portal where people are coming from different programs. The offensive line is maybe the hardest part to get continuity because you got people coming in and they haven't played together trying to learn new schemes. And yeah, you can throw a receiver out there. I mean, Jonte Cook, I think he's going to be phenomenal I mean, he is going to be phenomenal. I want the ball in his hands as many times as possible. But you can throw a receiver out there and go make a play. Offensive line, it takes a lot more communication and cohesiveness that, we still have to see and takes time to put together.
There's no magic formula here. If so, they everybody would be doing it.
Yeah,
But I'm curious
exactly.
what you think about this, Damien. Would you rather start with, no offense to our friends down the road at Colgate, but would you rather start with a Colgate or an FCS program and get the engines cranking because there's no preseason games in college football, or when you have a Tennessee in the first game, the spotlight is shining. It's a big environment. It
Mhm.
snaps you to attention. Like I can get both theories here, but do you feel like there's a better path to get a team going in that sense, or is it just you've tried both and it doesn't seem one it has the advantage over the other?
Yeah, I mean, I've, I'm trying to think. Every year I played, we didn't have one soft game to start. I remember freshman year, we had BYU on a Thursday night. That's my first game ever on the road at Provo. Second year at North Carolina. Third year, what do we have third year? At Purdue. And then
Jeez, yeah, you guys.
Kyle Orton Purdue, when he was a Heisman candidate, they were
That's
loaded.
right. They were low.
And
That was a
then
good
home
team.
Big
Yeah,
East game against West Virginia. So we never had like a warm-up game.
you were in the
So all
fire
I
every
know is
year. Yeah.
you go play. And I think there's something to be said for that because you find out real quick, you know, what your team is, what do you need to do? So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. This team is very young, so could a, quote unquote, divisional school maybe be better, or a directional school rather, be better to start the season off, maybe. Like playing Ohio, something like that, or like a Colgate, like you said. And no disrespect to Colgate, could that have been better for a younger team to kind of get their feet wet and get going? Maybe. But also, I mean, they're not going to play in a tougher environment really than they did. I mean, that was a road game,
It
regardless if
was.
it was
Yeah.
a neutral site. That was a Tennessee home game, basically. I mean, you listen to the crowd. That was Tennessee,
And I
and I think that's a great way for young guys to get acclimated. I mean, hey, you know what you got punched in the mouth, but you also punched back. I mean, again, they fought back and they played some good football. There's a lot of periods of really good football that they can teach, and now you can go back and say, look where we are. I mean, again, I think it was you look at the first quarter and end of the half. That changed the game.
And I'm fascinated by that, Damien, because in football, they make these schedules years ahead of time. I mean, they knew they were
Right,
going to start with Tennessee 4 years ago. You would
right,
rather cater that game to, you just said it, young roster. I'd rather start against a team that's going to give us a quote unquote easier run here. Whereas in basketball, you can change the schedule every year, not only based on what kind of
right,
roster you have, but look at Syracuse, right? Well, we got to make the tournament. Okay, well, let's load up the non-conference slate with
right,
as many games as we can to impress the selection committee, a good balance of games where they're going to win by 20, 30 points, but
right.
also you're playing Houston and Kansas and enough non-conference games that strengthen the schedule. And basketball is a different thing, but at least every
Right.
year the
But
slate's
you can
clean.
change it. You can't do it football.
Exactly. In football, it's
You're
like,
locked
no,
in.
you're playing Tennessee and you're going to
Right.
Miami and you're going to Clemson
And
and
you don't
you
know what your
deal with
roster is
it.
going to be, especially
Exactly.
with the transfer portal. You don't know what your roster is going to be, so you can't sit there and try to cater something nicely to it. It's just not the realm of the reality of what's going on in this day and age of football. It's just not how it is. And again, like I think it's a good thing that I honestly, I'm actually happy they played that game rather than playing like a softer team. I think the best way to get your team's attention sometimes is a tough defeat where you're like, I mean, Tennessee did play well. I'm not gonna act like they didn't. They played great, but we also didn't play very well early in the game. Like we put ourselves in a hole with stupid penalties and missed tackles and giving the ball up. Like we did that, and that's something the coach can go, look what happened. Look what
Hmm.
we did in the first quarter to put ourselves down 17-0. Look at the missed tackle we missed at the end of the first half to let them go down the field and score right before the half after we just gained the momentum and we would have got the ball back. Like that's teach tape moment. And to show like this is the fine margins it takes. Like I'll never forget, Coach Pasqualoni used to tell us this, and I didn't realize how true it was until you start playing games. It is so hard to win a college football game, but it is so easy to lose one.
Mm, I like that. I like that. Coach P with the wisdom there for sure. So, Damien, you're going to be a big timer this week. You're going to be hanging in John Wildhack's box. So, if you see Damien there, wave at him as he's up there, with all the big timers. But I'm curious, you're going to have the AD's ear. What do you talk about with the AD? Do you have some thoughts on how things are going? Do you tell them? And I want to ask you this too, but like how alumni relations are, and just like, hey, John, well, I got you here. Can I give you my 2 cents on something, or is it just kind of chat about the game and just kind of casual?
I think it's kind of, it's a little bit of both. Like I've had the privilege to be around John a lot. So I spent some time with him this summer already. Well, summer's almost over now that school started today.
I
Geez.
know, yeah.
And he's just, I'm just very proud of the direction the program is going. And all I want to do is support it, whether that's me showing up to things or me, coming on platforms like this. And even like when I'm on X, I want to say Twitter, but X, like, yes, I am being, do I, put quote unquote criticism out? I'm just putting observations out. But I'm never going to be one of those people that bash the team. Like, I'm full support Syracuse football. It's like, I've never been so happy, almost probably as happy as I was when I was playing to support this program right now because of the direction they're going and the leader that they have. And that's also doing because of John Wildhack. So a lot of it's just like, what do you need from me out in Rochester? How can we get more people out there? Like, what do you need support wise? Like, I'm here for the Syracuse football program and the basketball program. I spent some time with Red and Felicia this summer as well. Um, Syracuse is something I'm passionate about. I mean, I spent 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears in that program, and also growing up there. That's like it means a lot to me. And so, a lot of it is just what can we do, but also when the game's on, I'm a football nerd, man. I'm like locked in watching game. Like I'm thinking schematic, looking at things that sometimes I forget who's around me because I'm just locked into the games. I'm a nerd.
In a good way, like you said, on the Twitter and the X. By the way, your friend Brent's not too far away, so if their food is better in that box. So if you're gonna bring your friend Brent a plate at halftime, I'm just throwing it
We
out
should do
there
like a little halftime
for a
something.
suggestion.
See
Exactly.
how the
Yeah.
game is. We can do a little
Yeah.
halftime, little
Just
catch up.
Just don't show John that
Talk
you
about
did
the
that
game.
for me. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just slip me a plate. I wanted to ask you something that you touched on there and how proud you are right now. What's the buzz with the alumni right now and how those relations are improving? It's something that Fran was adamant about
Mhm.
when he got here, but it's going to be a process. You had to get some people back that, if for whatever reason, just were not as engaged with the
Mhm.
program in the last decade or so. And it feels like there's been some big improvement in that department, but it can always get better. How would you grade it right now?
I think it's a continuous, it's moving forward and forward better and better. I think there was a lot of scar tissue
Mm.
that has to be chipped away. I mean, myself included, like I didn't want to even go back because it wasn't ever welcoming. And now it feels good to be back, but I think there's still, there's been so much growth and momentum going, but it's still only a fraction of it. And people are still just putting their toe in the water to feel it out because again, it was so bad before that. Again, the scar tissue's there, and that's real. And I think that Fran and John have done an amazing job of erasing that. You have some mainstays like a Will Hicks that helps big time because a lot of people, I had Will as my strength coach. I texted him a couple weeks ago, I'm like, hey, I need a workout, send me something quick. And and those kind of things definitely help. But yeah, I think it's moving in the right direction. And again, I think that I mean, at the end of the day, it's only been a year. It really hasn't been that long.
It's amazing to think about. Yeah.
But it feels longer because you have someone that and Fran that is so invested, and you would think he's been orange his whole life, like the way he's so passionate about this program, and that's what we needed.
Will Hicks, just to hear that name and to see him around the facility,
Oh,
and
he's the
it's
best,
just
man.
you need guys like that around, right?
I
That
mean, that's
just know
20
the
plus.
history.
That's 20 plus years at this university.
He's the man. I love talking to Will, and there's not a person you'll ever meet in your life that have a bad thing to say about Will
No,
Hicks. He's
nope.
amazing.
And if they do, then they're not a person I want to be around.
Exactly right. And I would say the same thing about you, my friend.
I
Really,
appreciate that, man.
really appreciate you coming on and the insight. We will definitely do this again sooner than a year. You're always welcome to come on here. And Damien's texted me before, like, hey, let's talk about this. I'm always ready to put you on the pod and hear your insight on everything going on. Enjoy the game on Saturday, my friend. We'll definitely catch up
Hey, I'll
soon.
talk to you then, buddy.
Mike, I think I've actually been, this is the term I've been using for this. I think we got a saucy game between Syracuse and UConn on the way. It was a close game last year. There was a couple of weird calls. They took away a couple touchdowns, field goals. As much as Kyle McCord was controlling that game, you're looking up at the scoreboard. I'm like, they're still in this thing, like all the way through. And I got a UConn team, as you've been saying on your pod, they've got an opportunity here. If they can knock off Syracuse, this snowball might roll down the hill a little bit.
Yeah, Brent, this is, again, we said a few minutes before we got on the air here, like I was not expecting this game to feel as big as it does.
Yeah.
Noontime, upstate New York on Saturday afternoon. But the first UConn win of the year, putting up a record number of offensive yards for a game in the program's history. The star power wide receiver, like there are some high hopes now for this team. They're thinking bowl game, higher level bowl game, the Fenway Bowl. Like this is it's a big game for the Huskies on Saturday.
It feels like a big game for Syracuse too, and that they don't want to be an 0-2 hole. And the point spread has been shrinking every time these two get together here. It's only about a touchdown, as you mentioned in this one, but that Central Connecticut State game, what are your takeaways in terms of, well, that's a team you should beat 59-13, but also some things like it doesn't matter who UConn plays. These are going to be some of their strengths you feel going forward.
Yeah, to me, like you're supposed to beat Central, absolutely. Supposed to win big, 100%. It was the way offensively, Brent, they did it. And, you know, I following this UConn team for 20 years, the UConn grad, like the UConn teams that I remember being very good, defensive teams run the football. And this team went out and scored from 80 yards out their first drive, 12 yards the next drive. They had a big play for 73 yards. They had a wide receiver break the game out. We'll talk about Skyler Bell, I'm sure, here at some point. Like it was the way offensively, Brent, they did it. And it just feels like after scoring over 400 points a year ago, with this offense, that was the second most in school history. They're trending that way again. And I'm just not used to seeing a UConn team be this explosive offensively. So forget the final score, forget the opponent. It was the big plays to me that really stood out in that win over Central.
Has this been a buildup under Jim Mora Jr.? Has he been trying to target players like a Skyler Bell, who we'll talk about? It's like, what's the transition been like, and what's kind of his mission statement and what he's trying to do with UConn football?
He's trying to get the best players possible. And at UConn, that's been tough over the years, right? I mean, they were in the Big East, and they made a BCS game. They had to go to the AAC, that conference. They had to go independent. So there is the conference thing, I think, has been an issue for them long term. And what Mora has done and come in and done here, going to bowl games in 2 of his first 3 years, there's a stability now, Brent, and a legitimacy to everything, what they're doing as a program. And you're getting guys like Skyler Bell, get in the transfer portal, come here, go back in the portal, and stay in East Hartford. You're getting recruits that are coming in that maybe wouldn't have come here if Jim Mora was not tied to the program, if the team had not been a bowl winner a year ago. Are they the best team in the country? Not even close. But what they have done here is legitimize the program and given the UConn football brand name a little bit of buzz. That has been what him and his staff have done, and I give them credit because it's not easy. Independent, no conference tie-in, so you don't get that guaranteed TV deal like Syracuse every week, no matter what. They have that ACC network. You don't have that with UConn right now, and so you're fighting against that. He's done a good job of raising the floor for what UConn can be going forward.
Skyler Bell's a name we mentioned a couple of times, and he's a talented player, which we need to address, but it kind of speaks to kind of the modern era of college football. This is an intriguing story because Michigan, as you've talked about on your pod, Michigan wanted him, and Michigan was throwing some money at him, but when Joe Fagnano, the quarterback, came back, he said, okay, I'm with you. Let's go. I'm gonna ride this out here at UConn. Well, how much of a victory is that in and of itself that he had a guy say no to Michigan and wants to stay there and build something with the Huskies?
Yeah, Jim Mora mentioned at some point this summer, Brent, that I guess $500,000 was the NIL offer for Skyler Bell. You can't put a price tag on what it meant for the program that he stayed. He had a great year last year, and every expectation was a team like Michigan would come calling. The fact he chose UConn over going back to the Big Ten and back to Michigan speaks volumes. And I think it helps them going forward in the transfer portal, helps them with recruiting, helps Jim Mora point to, hey, we brought him back. And again, one game, but in the first game back after deciding not to go to Michigan, 4 for 135, 2 touchdowns, feature guy in the offense. That is a story you can tell recruits, and it's stories you can tell your own players. I'm sure, as you talked about on your show, the NIL thing is wild now because you got to coach, you got to recruit, and then you got to keep your own guys. And so if you can tell your own guys, look, Skyler Bell stayed, he's a star, you can stay too, we'll keep you part of this program. You can't put a dollar amount on what that means for UConn football.
So that's kind of a broad sense of it. What kind of player is Syracuse dealing with here? Mike, they've got an intriguing secondary. Demetrius Samuel Jr., 17. He's been designated a two-way player. We haven't seen him on the wide receiver front yet, but he's a starting corner. Chris Peel is on the other side, who is a transfer in from Georgia, who I thought played pretty well against Tennessee, but we're still trying to see what's happening there. They've got a couple veteran safeties. So someone's going to get that draw with Bell. What will they be dealing with in terms of the player?
Just a super skilled wideout. Pro Football Focus graded him out as the third highest rated wide receiver in week 1 across college football. He's got great speed. He's very athletic. He has great hands. And one thing I'd look for if you're a Syracuse fan watching this game on Saturday, they didn't give him the ball in the backfield on Saturday. I think at some point this year, maybe even this week, Gordon Samus, the offensive coordinator, he's just explosive every time he touches the ball. And I do think in that shotgun read option look with the quarterback you mentioned, Joe Fagnano, I'm not going to be shocked if they line him up at that position. He can play all over the field. I've dug a little bit of digging on his draft stock. He right now is projected to be somewhere in the middle rounds in next spring's NFL draft. I won't be surprised if he keeps having these big games and he keeps getting spotlighted by places like Pro Football Focus if that stock goes up. But he's a super talented athletic receiver who can change the game from the outside and can change the game as a runner. And I will not be shocked, again, if he gets the ball out of the backfield for UConn on Saturday.
So he's somebody to watch, but it feels like ultimately, and you have an offensive coordinator who's an offensive line coach too. So he wants to run the ball, right?
Yep.
Tell me about UConn's running game. And if, in a perfect world, is that what they want to do? Control the clock, run the ball and keep the ball out of Syracuse's hands?
See, and maybe they would say that. Maybe Mora and maybe Samus would tell you they want to run. I remain unconvinced, Brent, that they can be a team that can get 12 and 13 and 14 play drives and go score. I think I need to see that. I think they're more of an explosive offense this year. They have a couple of guys offensively in the backfield that you're going to hear a lot of on Saturday. Cam Edwards, the junior back, he's an explosive player. He had 6 carries for almost 120 yards a week ago, again, against Central, but a big play running back. They don't throw it to him a lot, but he can make plays, again, in that shotgun read option look for this offense. And then Mel Brown, kind of a change of pace guy, the senior. He's going to be involved, I won't say as much, but he's going to be a change of pace guy for this offense. And they're not going to be afraid to run it on the outside. I've watched this team now for a couple of years under Samus. They're able to attack the edges against teams. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of that extra tight end occasionally in that shotgun look with Edwards and Brown. I just don't know if they're equipped right now to run and establish a run and have like a big time possession game. I do think explosive plays are still a big part of what they'll do offensively.
Now, looking at it from the other aspect of it here, Syracuse's offense versus UConn's defense. I know there's not a lot of starters on that defense. They're kind of like Syracuse. Syracuse is trying to find itself. They're having tackling issues. We mentioned a couple of transfers there. They're trying to settle in here. The offense, though, I'm pretty encouraged by that they're going to take a step forward here. Steve Angeli, the Notre Dame transfer, he got sacked 5 times, but I think handled that well last week. There is talent on that offensive line. They've got strength in the running back room with the guy you've seen Willis coming back from last year combined with Will Nixon. It's kind of the thunder and lightning approach. There's a lot of talent in that receiver room. You mentioned Bell, of course. Syracuse has that in Jonte Cook, the transfer from Texas. The guy flies all over the field. So when you have started to look at that Syracuse offense, can UConn keep up with this? What are your concerns about what Syracuse does offensively?
Yeah, if UConn loses, it's because they can't stop Syracuse on Saturday. And Jim Morris said it on, I think it was Tuesday press conference, like in the postgame, he used the word disappointed, Brent, in his defensive effort, his defense's effort against Central. They got pushed around in that game. They have one defensive lineman in this 3-3-5 defensive that they play, like one defensive lineman over 300 pounds. They're missing starting safety in Malachi McClain. He will not play in this game on Saturday. I think defensively, this is where it gets a little bit scary for UConn, because in a lot of years, as a UConn fan, their best teams have been strong defensively, returning starters, and you knew what to sort of bank on there. Only 2 returning starters, second year of this Matt Brock 3-3-5 defense. If they lose, we're going to be talking about next week on Locked On UConn, that they got pushed around up front and that Yassine Willis was able to absolutely pound the rock against this UConn defense. That, to me, is the biggest concern. Taekwon King as a linebacker will be a playmaker for them, but they're undersized up front. They only returned 2 starters. And even against Central Connecticut, they got pushed around and they missed some tackles against the Central Connecticut tight end, number 87. That is my biggest concern. Like a shootout where UConn can score, but they can't stop Syracuse on Saturday.
Mike, we can't bring on a UConn guy and not get some hoops in here, right? But
Yeah,
Dan Hurley made some headlines this week. Interesting story that he at least contemplated taking a job in broadcasting with Fox. And look, I think at the end of the day, he's the biggest coaching star in the game now in a sport for so long. We saw it here with Jim Boeheim forever, and you can rattle off all the names. Jim Calhoun, of course, at UConn. He is, in a lot of ways, the face of college basketball and is so intense and is one of the great characters in the sport. So I would have hated to lose that, even though he would have been on television. So we would have got it in some sense. But what was your takeaway from kind of an honest admission from Dan? And of course, it's in a book. You got to sell a book. So he's got that coming out. And I know Ian O'Connor's coming on your pod soon, so I'm looking forward to listening to that. But what was your takeaway from Hurley admitting, like, I almost just said, okay, that's it for me. I've won a couple titles and done what I need to do, and I'm going to go on TV for a little bit.
Yeah, the big takeaway was like hell of a job selling a book by O'Connor and Hurley. Like they sold hundreds, if not thousands of copies yesterday. Good PR 101. I'm not surprised because he put so much pressure on himself. He's a type A personality. Brent, I mean, you got fans see it. And I know Syracuse fans and most college basketball fans, they hate Dan Hurley. They hate the antics, all that stuff. But it's because he burns so brightly and goes so hard after this. He put a lot of pressure on himself to win a 3rd consecutive championship. He even said in that excerpt you referenced, like, I thought that though his only really bad moment as a UConn coach was Maui last year. He admitted that in this excerpt that he got a little bit over emotionally, lost control in Maui. And so I'm not surprised because he burned so hard and because he went so hard after this and it was such a disappointing result for his team. But you mentioned the state of college sports. And you probably talked about this on your show as somebody who is new to daily talking about college sports. I am immediately becoming aware that NIL is affecting so many of these coaches in so many different ways. There was an athletic story a couple of weeks ago where a small college coach was saying, like, my coaching staff is sending my players happy birthday texts to make sure they know we care about them because every year we have to re-recruit. And when Dan Hurley comes on TV and says, I'm losing 50% of my roster.
Right.
And I just don't know how sustainable that is. So when you go as hard as he does, a type A personality, and when the NIL thing is like another whole season for you, I'm not surprised. I didn't view it. And we're going to see the whole book. We only have this excerpt so far. I don't view it as like Hurley's got one foot out the door. I view it as he recognizes that he has a shelf life going as hard as he does coaching, and that come sometime he'll be sitting on Fox TV and he'll be freaking great. When he does go to TV, he'll be good. But like, you tell me, like, don't you expect more big time coaches to sort of make the point that, hey, the transfer portal and NIL is making our lives more difficult, and maybe I do want to go explore other options because I have to coach year round and recruit year round, including my own guys.
And last thought for me, Mike, boy, I miss the Big East in a lot of ways, and Syracuse and basketball crossing paths is right at the top of that list. Now, I do want to say this. The women's programs have crossed paths in the Final Four in 2016.
Tournament last year, right?
The year before that, in that loss. So UConn has ended Syracuse's season at a high level. Are they just, Gino Ariema's looking for another title this year, just kind of pass go, collect $200? Are they expected to win the national championship again this year? How's UConn women's hoops looking?
They're loaded. They're absolutely loaded. If you look at the different odds, they're second choice. They should be favored to win. And I think the expectation across the country will be, hey, they lost Paige Beckers, absolutely star of the program. Like, her story's unbelievable. They bring back AZ Fudd. They bring back Sarah Strong. They got to recruit Sarah Williams, who is one of the best players in the country, a transfer from Wisconsin. Talk about the transfer portal benefiting UConn. They're just loaded. And Gino, at 71 years young last year, became the oldest Division I coach to win. I think they're going to go back to back. Their roster is just stacked. And they did what a lot of coaches did, including Coach Hurley on the men's side. The 15 roster thing at max size now, he filled it out. Like, he's got recruits coming in. They have their first recruit from South America in Blanca Quiones. Like, they're stacked. They're more talented top to bottom than the men's team is. And I know South Carolina is good. I know UCLA is good, but I fully expect that both teams are going to be in contention for national title, but the women's team, just talent wise, not reputation wise, Brent, but talent wise, is just from top to bottom of the roster. Just, I think, probably the most talented team in the country.
Mike, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate your insight. Good luck with everything. I know you just took over the Locked On Yukon pod, and if anybody wants to keep tabs on what's going on with Yukon, and hopefully Syracuse and Yukon will be more regular foes in the future sometime. But in the meantime, Mike's pod is a great way to keep up with that. Thanks for your insight, my friend, and looking forward to a saucy game on Saturday for sure.
I have not heard that word yet about this game, Brent. I'm giving you credit on my show. It is a saucy game, a saucy showdown, noon, ESPN Plus for us locally. We'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you.
Thank you to Mike. Thank you to Damien. Great stuff there from both of those gentlemen, and what will be I think, at the very least, an interesting game between Syracuse and Yukon on Saturday, the home opener. If you're there, please say hello. Come by. Let's talk SU sports. I'll be around before the game. We'll see how the weather is for tailgating, but that's not going to matter. You guys will be out there doing your thing no matter what before that noon kickoff on Saturday. Now, I wanted to take a moment here to give a shout out to one of our insiders. And, the insider group is this unique thing. And I talk about it all the time on the pod. And we would love for you to join to be a Syracuse Sports Insider. And, I text you and you text me, and it's sports and it's information. And, we like to do a theme of the day. Like as we record this today, it's National Eat an Extra Dessert Day. I just kind of started doing that every day, just kind of break it up. And every day is a day. And I get a kick out of that, right? And we have some fun, we have some laughs, and we have some back and forths, but it's digital, right? We live in this digital world where you see something online and you like it, and that's great, and you can connect that way, and you can provide people information and entertainment that way, but there's nothing like a genuine human connection. And I've gotten to know some of our insiders. I've met you guys, I see you at games, and we talk about other things besides sports, which I'm happy to do and happy to provide for you, but I've gotten to know some of your families and what you're up to, and we've kind of developed a unique bond. And no matter what, life's going to find a way in, right? As much as I am happy to provide a distraction or just kind of keep your mind off other things here and keep you informed on what's going on with SU sports, life is going to get in the door. And we found out this week that one of our insiders, Dean, unfortunately passed away after a long battle with cancer. And I got a note. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. I got a note from Dean's son, whose also name is Dean, by the way. And Dean shared that he and his dad would often kind of start the day, a conversation starter would be our texts. His dad would get a kick out of some of the things that we texted, or just, what do you think about this? And it was just a way for those two to bond and to talk SU sports, and to, even if it's for just a moment, get their mind off of what Dean was going through. And boy, I can't tell you what that means to me, to hear that our little text service here bonded two people together. And Dean's son, who wrote the note, made the point to say, you don't really know what you do for people when you provide this, and what it meant to my father and I, which I can't even express to you what that means. I mean, I'm getting deep on you here, but man, to hear that, it really puts it into perspective about what we can do here. And it truly is kind of a community. And, you guys were going to Atlanta. You were texting me and said, hey, where are the insiders going to be? Where are they sitting? Where are they going to be? We had a great meetup in Vegas once upon a time, and hope to have some more meetups coming up soon. I hope to see you guys at the games and the tailgates and everything. So it just goes to show you that, look, as much as we love to talk sports, when you think of those great moments, you think of the people you're with. As much as I loved being there when Michael Owens took in that 2-point conversion in 1987, what I think of most is the look on my father's face, right? Dean had that bond with his father. Sports bonds together families. Think of the routines and going to games and the people that you go to games with, the friends or family or neighbors or whatever the case may be, people that sit in the same sections at the Dome become friends and almost like family. It's such a unique thing. In a world that's divided in so many ways, sports can just unify, right? But unfortunately, cancer does not discriminate. We're fighting so hard to find cures for cancer and to ease cancer treatments. And there's been a lot of progress in that department. But unfortunately, you get a humbling reminder like that, not only hearing about Dean, but we heard this week that former Syracuse women's basketball star Tiana Mangakahia Unfortunately, her cancer has returned, and she posted a note on social media saying that she's not her. I could pull it up for you here to read it, but she basically said that her body is in physical decline right now. And she just wanted to send a note out there to let people know. She said, over the last 5 days, my health has taken a negative turn. The cancer has progressed, and it's now affecting in ways that are hard to put into words. I'm experiencing significant physical decline. She does say, though, that I may not be able to show up in all the ways I used to, but I still deeply value every message, prayer, and thought. Thank you for walking this path with me. Your love and strength carry me through more than you know, right? And we watch our athletes to see, humans at their best, right? Excelling at a sport. But it's just a reminder that no matter how you can excel at something, is you seem superhuman, that cancer can just affect anybody, and it affects all of us, right? So our thoughts and prayers certainly go out to Tiana and her family, to Dean and his family, and of course, everybody watching and listening to this, everybody's going through something, right? You're all going through something. And if we on this pod and even on that text line can just give you a little bit of a distraction, just take your mind off it, even if it's just for a moment, that means the world to me, that you turn to us for that. And we are happy to do that for you. And boy, I got that note this week, and it really humbled me, and it hit me right here. So thank you to everybody that watches the pod and subscribes to the text. And like I said, we're talking sports all the time, and it's a lot of fun. But life always finds a way in the door, and if we can just give you a little bit of a distraction, take your mind off that a little bit, then we're happy to do so. So thank you for everything, and of course, we are thinking about Dean and his family, and we are thinking about Tiana and her family, and all of you out there. We're all going through something, right? So I appreciate you letting me get deep there for a moment, but I got that note from Dean's son, and boy, I've been thinking about it ever since. And thank you for sharing that, and I'm glad that we could help you and your dad over that past year, at least take your mind off what he was going through just a little bit. Okay, as we end every pod here with your original music, and please send it in. We'd love to feature your original music here on Syracuse Sports. They're backed by popular demand. Silverset, we featured a song of theirs in a previous pod. Wherever you go, wherever you are, wherever you go. This is a song called Akame, and it's terrific, and you should go download their music and check it out. All the info is in the show notes, and you should send me your original music that we could feature here on Syracuse Sports. We will catch you next time, guys. Don't forget about the Syracuse football postgame show after the Yukon game. We've got some good things cooking on the pod next week, too. So please subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, was waiting there because I care, and I came through because I want you. And you were left alone without a home, nowhere to go before I got you. And now you're mine, you are mine now for all time. You're mine, you are mine all of the time. you're still here, and it